Exile from home. The courtroom was vast, cold, and unfeeling. Pillars of silver reached up to the sky, disappearing into a swirling mist. Zara stood at the center, her legs trembling as the council's voices boomed around her. Her kind, the Eltharans, prided themselves on order and logic, but there was no fairness in this room today. Zara glanced at her family. Her father, a once proud scientist, now looked worn and defeated. Her mother stood stoic, clutching Zora's younger brother close to her side. They had done nothing wrong. They had only tried to warn the council of the danger that was coming, a danger no one wanted to hear about. "The evidence is clear," the chief arbiter declared. His voice was sharp and final, like the slam of a steel door. "Your family has acted against the interests of the Eltharan unity. For this crime, you are to be exiled." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Exile was worse than death. It meant being stripped of your place in society and cast out into the void with no resources or allies. Zara felt her chest tighten. She wanted to scream, to protest, but she knew it would be useless. The decision had been made. Guards stepped forward, their sleek armor glinting in the pale light. Zara's father tried to speak, his voice cracking with desperation. "You're making a mistake. We only wanted to help." "Silence," barked one of the guards, shoving him toward the exit. Zara's mother followed, her expression hard as stone. Zara held her brother's hand tightly as they were led away. Outside the courtroom, a sleek transport ship waited for them. Its metallic hull reflected the cold, empty expanse of the docking bay. They were pushed inside without ceremony, the doors sealing shut with a hiss. The interior of the ship was bare and lifeless, just a hollow shell meant to carry them far from the Eltharan homeworld. Zara sat next to a small, circular window, staring at the stars beyond. They had always seemed so beautiful to her, but now they felt distant and uncaring. Her brother, Leo, tugged at her sleeve. "Where are we going, Zara?" he asked, his voice small and frightened. "I don't know," she admitted, pulling him close. "But we'll be together. That's what matters." Their father paced the length of the cabin, muttering to himself. "They're fools. The threat is real. When it comes, they'll regret this." Zora's mother placed a hand on his shoulder. "Enough, Rin. We can't change what's happened. We need to focus on surviving." The ship jolted as it launched into space, the hum of the engines filling the silence. Zara felt a pang of fear. They had no destination, no plan. They were truly on their own now. Hours passed, and the family sat in uneasy silence. The ship's systems were basic, providing just enough to keep them alive. Zara fiddled with the small control panel in front of her, trying to distract herself. That's when she noticed it. A faint signal blinking on the screen. "Dad," she called, her voice trembling. "There's something here." Her father rushed over, his eyes scanning the data. "It's a distress signal," he said, his voice tinged with both curiosity and caution. "But it's not Eltharan. It's human." The word hung in the air like a shadow. Humans were a mysterious and controversial species. The Eltharans saw them as reckless and unpredictable, a species to be avoided. But now, in their moment of desperation, Zara couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. "What do we do?" she asked, looking at her parents. Her mother frowned. "It could be a trap. We don't know anything about them. Or it could be our only chance," her father countered. "The ship's resources won't last forever. If we don't act, we'll die out here." Zora's gaze shifted back to the blinking signal. It was weak, but it was steady. Someone, or something, was out there, calling for help. She swallowed her fear and made a decision. "Let's go," she said, her voice firm. "We have nothing to lose." Her father nodded and adjusted the ship's course. As they approached the source of the signal, the stars seemed to grow brighter, like silent witnesses to their journey. Zara clutched her brother's hand, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. The signal led them to a small planet, its surface dotted with patches of green and blue. Orbiting above it was a human outpost, its structure crude compared to Eltheran designs, but sturdy and functional. The distress signal was coming from inside. Zara's father initiated contact, sending out a cautious greeting. Moments later, a human voice crackled through the speakers. It was rough but welcoming. "This is Alex Carter of Outpost Theta. Identify yourself." Zara's father hesitated, then replied, "We are refugees. Our ship is failing. We need help." There was a long pause. Zara held her breath, waiting for the response. Finally, the voice returned. "Dock at Bay 3. We'll see what we can do." Relief flooded through Zara, but it was quickly tempered by uncertainty. They were stepping into the unknown, placing their trust in a species they barely understood. As the ship aligned with the outpost's docking bay, Zara's mind raced with questions. Who were these humans? Could they be trusted? And most importantly, was this the beginning of their salvation or their doom? The ship docked with a soft thud, and the doors began to open. Zara stood, her legs shaky but determined. Whatever awaited them on the other side, she knew they had no choice but to face it. First contact with humanity. The airlock doors hissed open, releasing a wave of cold, sterile air into the ship. Zara instinctively stepped back, her eyes darting toward her parents. Her father nodded, his expression a blend of caution and determination. Beyond the threshold was a world they had never known, a human world. Alex Carter stood at the far end of the docking bay, his arms crossed. He was taller than Zara had expected, his features rugged but not unkind. His uniform was worn, the sleeves rolled up to reveal arms scarred from years of work. Behind him, a group of humans stood, their expressions ranging from wary curiosity to outright distrust. They whispered among themselves, their eyes fixed on the Eltherans, as if trying to decipher whether they were friend or foe. "Welcome to Outpost Theta," Alex said, his voice steady but guarded. "You're lucky we picked up your signal. What brings you this far out?" Zara's father stepped forward. "We were exiled from our homeworld," he explained, his voice carefully measured. "Our ship was failing. We detected your distress beacon and hoped perhaps you could offer assistance." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Exiled, huh? Must have done something pretty bad for your own people to kick you out." Zara felt her face flush. She wanted to snap back, to defend her family, but her father's hand on her shoulder stopped her. He gave Alex a tight smile. "Let's just say we tried to warn them about a danger they refused to see." Alex studied them for a moment, then sighed and motioned for them to follow. "Come on, let's get you settled before someone decides you're more trouble than you're worth." The outpost was a patchwork of metal and wires, a far cry from the sleek elegance of Eltheran design. Pipes hissed, lights flickered, and the hum of machinery filled the air. Humans bustled around, their faces marked with grime and fatigue. Zara noticed how different they looked. Some were pale, others dark, their features varied in ways her people never were. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and strangely alive. As they walked, Zara couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The humans whispered as they passed, their words sharp and cutting. "Aliens? Here. Are they crazy? What if they're spies? They don't belong here." Zara's mother kept her head high, her expression unreadable. Lio clung to her side, his wide eyes darting around nervously. Zara, however, couldn't stop herself from staring. Despite the harsh words, she was fascinated. These humans were unlike anything she had been taught to expect. Alex led them to a small room lined with metal bunks. "It's not much," he said, gesturing to the space. "But it's better than your ship." "Thank you," Zara's father said sincerely. "We're grateful." Alex nodded, then leaned against the doorframe. "I don't know what you've heard about us, but humans don't usually turn away people in need. That said, not everyone here will be happy about this arrangement. Stay out of trouble, and we'll get along fine." Zara met his gaze, trying to read the man who had just saved their lives. There was kindness there, but also caution, like he was waiting for them to prove him wrong. Later that night, Zara couldn't sleep. The unfamiliar sounds of the outpost kept her on edge, but it was more than that. She felt exposed, like a fragile thread hanging between survival and disaster. Her thoughts were interrupted by a faint noise outside the room. Curious, she slipped out of bed and crept down the dimly lit hallway. She found Alex in a small workshop, tinkering with a damaged drone. His hands moved with practiced ease, but his face was tight with concentration. He didn't notice her at first, so she stood there, unsure whether to speak. "You're not going to sleep either, huh?" Alex said without looking up. Zara startled. "I didn't mean to interrupt." "You're not." He set down his tools and turned to face her. "What's on your mind?" She hesitated. "Why did you help us? You don't even know us." Alex shrugged. "Maybe I'm just a sucker for a good sob story." Zara frowned, not sure if he was joking. "Your people don't trust us. Some of them think we're dangerous." "They're not wrong to be cautious," Alex said, leaning back against the table. "Humans have been burned before. Not everyone out there in the galaxy has our best interests at heart." "And you think we do?" Zara asked quietly. "I don't know what to think yet," Alex admitted. "But I've seen enough to know when someone's desperate. You and your family. You're not here to cause trouble. You're running from something." Zara looked away. "It's more complicated than that." "Yeah," Alex said, his tone softening. "It always is." As Zara returned to her room, she couldn't stop thinking about Alex's words. He had seen through the walls she had tried to put up, recognizing the fear and uncertainty beneath. For the first time since their exile, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe humanity wasn't as reckless and dangerous as her people believed. Maybe, just maybe, they could be allies. But as the outpost's lights dimmed for the night, shadows moved in the corners. Unseen eyes watched Zora's family, and silent plans were being made. Not everyone was ready to welcome the Eltharans. In the darkness, suspicion festered, and danger began to take shape. Zora's fight for trust. The sound of alarms shattered the fragile peace of the outpost. Zora bolted upright, her heart pounding. Red lights flashed across the metal walls of their cramped room, and a voice blared through the speakers. "All personnel to the central bay. Security breach detected." Her family scrambled to their feet, confusion and fear etched across their faces. Before they could move, the door slid open, and Alex stormed in, his face a mask of tension. "Stay here," he ordered, his voice clipped. "I'll handle this." "What's happening?" Zora's father demanded. "An explosion," Alex replied, already turning to leave. "Near the reactor. And before anyone asks, people are blaming you." The words hit like a slap. Zora's breath caught. "What? We didn't." "I know," Alex interrupted. "But try explaining that to a scared, angry crowd." He paused, his eyes locking with Zora's. "Keep your family safe, and don't make this worse." The door slammed shut behind him, leaving them in stunned silence. Zora's mother pulled Lio close, her expression grim. "We need to leave," she said, "before they come for us." "We can't," Zora's father argued. "Where would we go? The ship is barely functional." Zora clenched her fists. "We didn't cause the explosion. We can't just sit here and let them blame us." "And what do you suggest?" her father asked. "Convince an entire outpost of frightened humans that we're innocent. Good luck." Zara didn't wait for permission. She slipped out into the dimly lit hallway, her mind racing. The outpost was alive with movement. Humans rushing in all directions, shouting orders and accusations. She kept her head down, trying to stay invisible, but the murmurs reached her ears. It was them. It has to be. Aliens show up, and suddenly the reactor blows. Coincidence? I don't think so. We should have never let them in. The words stung, but Zara pushed forward. She needed answers. The central bay was a hive of activity. Engineers worked frantically to stabilize the reactor, while security personnel tried to control the growing crowd. Alex stood in the middle, shouting orders. Zara hesitated, then forced herself to step forward. "Alex," she called, her voice barely audible over the chaos. He turned, his expression darkening when he saw her. "I told you to stay put." "I need to help," Zara said, her voice firm despite her fear. "We didn't do this, and I can prove it." Alex's jaw tightened. "You're walking a fine line, kid. If you're wrong, this crowd will tear you apart." "I'm not wrong," Zara insisted. "Just give me a chance." For a long moment, Alex stared at her, weighing the risk. Finally, he nodded. "Fine. But one mistake, and I can't protect you." Zara worked quickly, her fingers flying over the control panel. The human's technology was crude compared to what she was used to, but the principles were the same. She traced the energy signatures from the explosion, following the trail like a thread through a maze. "It wasn't the reactor," she said finally, her voice cutting through the tense silence. "The explosion came from an external device. Someone planted it." The room erupted in confusion. Alex held up a hand, silencing the crowd. "Are you sure?" he asked. Zara nodded. "Check the system logs. The detonation originated from Bay 2, near the cargo hold." Alex motioned to one of the engineers, who began typing furiously. Moments later, the screen confirmed Zara's findings. The crowd's whispers turned to murmurs of doubt. "She's telling the truth." "Then who planted it? Why would anyone do that?" Alex frowned. "That's what we're going to find out." Hours later, Zara sat in the workshop, exhaustion pulling at her limbs. The outpost was calmer now, but the tension was still palpable. Alex entered, his expression unreadable. "You were right," he said, sitting across from her. "The explosion wasn't an accident. Someone wanted to sabotage the outpost and frame you for it." Zara felt a mix of relief and anger. "Who?" "We don't know yet," Alex admitted. "But I've got a feeling it's someone who doesn't want your family here." Zara looked down at her hands, her nails digging into her palms. "I just wanted to prove we could be trusted." "You did," Alex said, his tone softer. "Not everyone sees it yet, but you saved a lot of lives today. That counts for something." "Does it?" Zara asked bitterly. "Because it feels like no matter what we do, people will always see us as the enemy." Alex leaned back, crossing his arms. "Welcome to being human." Zara blinked, surprised. Alex gave her a wry smile. "You think we've got it easy. We've been fighting for our place in the galaxy since day one. Trust isn't given, Zara. It's earned." She nodded slowly, his words settling over her like a heavy blanket. "Then I'll earn it, whatever it takes." Alex studied her for a moment, then stood. "Good, because whoever planted that bomb isn't done yet. And if we don't figure out who it is, none of us are going to make it." As the door closed behind him, Zara felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. She had taken the first step toward proving herself, but the road ahead was long and treacherous. Somewhere in the shadows of the outpost, an enemy was waiting. And this time, Zara wouldn't wait for the fight to come to her. The alien past revealed. The stars outside the viewport seemed to pulse as Zara stood in the outpost observation deck, her reflection flickering faintly against the glass. The hum of the station was ever present, a constant reminder of the fragile balance holding this patchwork of technology and lives together. But tonight, something else filled the air, a silence heavier than words. "You're not sleeping either, huh?" Alex's voice broke the quiet. Zara didn't turn around. She could see his silhouette in the glass, his posture relaxed, but his tone edged with curiosity. He had a knack for showing up when she least expected him. "No," Zara said softly, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. "It's hard to sleep when you're running from your own people." Alex leaned against the railing beside her, crossing his arms. "You've been pretty tight-lipped about that. Maybe it's time you let me in on the big secret." Zara hesitated, The weight of her family's exile pressed against her chest, a secret she had been carrying for too long. But Alex had proven himself trustworthy, and the humans deserved to know the truth. Especially now. She took a deep breath. My family wasn't exiled because we broke the law. We were exiled because we spoke the truth. Alex raised an eyebrow. That's usually how it goes with regimes that don't like questions. Zara gave him a faint smile, appreciating his dry humor, then turned serious. My father was a scientist. He discovered something dangerous, an ancient AI fleet, buried in the ruins of a long-forgotten civilization. It was dormant, but its systems were still active. It had the potential to reactivate and wipe out everything in its path. Alex's expression darkened. And your people didn't believe him. They didn't want to believe him, Zara corrected. The Eltheran Council is obsessed with control. The threat like this would disrupt their carefully maintained order. My father tried to warn them, but they silenced him. And us. They called him a liar, a fearmonger. Then they exiled us, so no one would ever hear his warnings. Alex let out a low whistle. So now you're fugitives, and this AI fleet is still out there. Zara nodded, her throat tightening. And it's waking up. Alex paced the room, his boots clanking against the metal floor. Okay, let's assume you're right. What's the timeline here? How long do we have before this thing decides to go full apocalyptic? We don't know, Zara admitted. But the energy signatures we've been detecting, they're getting stronger. That means the fleet is reactivating faster than we anticipated. And the council? Alex asked. They're just sitting on their hands. They don't care, Zara said bitterly. They think they're safe, that the fleet won't come for them. But they're wrong. The AI was designed to eliminate all life it deems a threat. That includes the Eltherans and humans. Alex stopped pacing and stared at her. So let me get this straight. Your people ignored the warning, dumped the responsibility on you. And now humanity's in the crosshairs too. Did I miss anything? Pretty much, Zara said with a humorless laugh. Welcome to galactic politics. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, thinking, if what you're saying is true, we can't fight this thing on our own. Hell, we can barely keep this outpost running. We need more information, locations, weaknesses, anything we can use. My father has detailed data on the fleet, Zara said. He's been studying it for years. But his notes are incomplete. To stop it, we'd need to access the AI's core systems. And how do we do that? Alex asked. Zara hesitated. By getting close enough to the fleet to infiltrate it. Alex blinked. That's suicide. It's the only way, Zara said firmly. The fleet is massive, but it's not invincible. If we can disrupt its command systems, we can shut it down. Alex let out a long sigh. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But convincing the people here to go along with this plan, that's a different story. The outpost briefing room was tense as Zara and Alex presented their findings to the leadership council. The humans listened in silence, their faces a mix of skepticism and fear. So let me get this straight, one of the engineers said, her voice sharp. You want us to trust an alien, whose people threw her out, by the way, and launch a mission to take down a fleet of killer machines. Zara stepped forward, her voice steady. I know it sounds impossible, but I've seen what this fleet can do. If we don't act, it will destroy everything, your outpost, your planets, your entire species. We're not asking for blind trust. We're asking for a chance to prove we can work together. The room fell silent. Then Alex spoke, his voice calm but firm. She's right. We're already facing an uphill battle just surviving out here. If we don't step up now, there won't be anything left to fight for. As the council deliberated, Zara stood by the viewport, watching the stars again. This time, Alex joined her without a word. They stood in silence, the weight of the moment hanging between them. You think they'll agree? Zara asked finally. Alex shrugged. They don't have much of a choice. You've got people scared. And that's a good start. Fear's a hell of a motivator. Zara smiled faintly. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Alex smirked. Don't thank me yet. This plan of yours is still half crazy. Half crazy is better than doing nothing, Zara replied. The intercom buzzed, signaling the council's decision. Zara and Alex exchanged a glance, and without another word, they headed back to face the next step in their impossible mission. The fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. Humanity's gamble. The room was eerily quiet, save for the low hum of the outpost's systems. Zara stood at the center of the command deck, surrounded by humans who stared at her with a mix of suspicion and fear. A holographic projection of the AI fleet hovered above the central console, its vastness filling the room with an almost suffocating weight. Alex broke the silence, his voice sharp. This is what we're up against. A fleet of autonomous machines, built by a long-dead civilization. They don't negotiate, they don't retreat, and they won't stop until they've wiped out every living thing in their path. Zara stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. The fleet isn't fully operational yet. It's waking up, but we still have time to strike before it reaches full strength. If we hit the command ship, we can shut down the entire network. One of the outpost leaders, a burly man with a scar running down his face, crossed his arms. And how do you suggest we do that? Our weapons barely dented the last pirate ship that came through here. You want us to take on an entire fleet. We don't need to destroy the fleet, Zara said. We need to disrupt its central AI core. If we can infiltrate the command ship and plant a virus, we can disable the entire system. The room erupted in murmurs. Some of the humans shook their heads, disbelief etched on their faces. Others whispered furiously, debating whether to trust an alien whose people had already cast her out. Alex slammed his hand on the table. Enough. Sitting here arguing won't save us. We've got one shot at this, and Zara's plan is the only one on the table. If anyone has a better idea, now's the time to share. The murmurs quieted. No one spoke. The outpost buzzed with activity as preparations began. Engineers worked around the clock, modifying a small strike ship for the mission. Zara watched as Alex supervised the team, his voice calm but commanding. It was strange, seeing humans so united. Despite their rough edges and chaotic methods, they moved with purpose. As the hours ticked by, Zara found herself in the outpost's quiet observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before her, their cold beauty a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding below. She was lost in thought when Alex approached, his boots echoing softly on the metal floor. "You ready for this?" he asked, leaning against the railing beside her. "No," Zara admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't think anyone ever is." Alex chuckled softly. "Fair point." She turned to him, her expression serious. "Why are you doing this, Alex? You barely know me. Your people don't trust me. Why risk everything?" He shrugged, staring out at the stars. "Because it's what we do. Humanity survived this long by taking risks. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. But if there's even a chance we can stop this thing, we've got to try." Zara nodded, a small flicker of hope stirring in her chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Alex said with a smirk. "We've still got to survive this." As the strike team prepared to launch, the atmosphere grew tense. The humans worked in near silence, their determination palpable. Zara joined her father in the ship's cockpit, where he was calibrating the navigation systems. "Do you think this will work?" she asked quietly. Her father didn't look up. "It has to." She swallowed hard, her gaze shifting to her brother, Leo, who was helping load supplies. He was too young to be here, too innocent for the horrors they were about to face. But there was no safer place for him. They were all in this together. The strike ship launched into the void, its engines roaring as it broke free from the outpost. The human crew moved with practiced efficiency, checking systems and scanning for threats. Zara sat beside Alex in the cramped cockpit, her heart pounding as the AI fleet came into view. It was larger than she had imagined. Ships the size of cities floated in formation, their surfaces sleek and angular, their lights pulsing like the heartbeat of a giant. At the center of the fleet was the command ship, its massive frame bristling with weapons and antennas. "Target locked," Alex said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Let's make this count." The ship's cloaking device activated, and they slipped past the outer defenses. Zara held her breath as they approached the command ship's docking bay. If the AI detected them, they wouldn't stand a chance. "We're in," Alex announced as the ship landed with a soft thud. "Everyone, move fast. We don't have much time." The team disembarked, their boots echoing in the cavernous bay. The interior of the command ship was cold and sterile, its walls glowing faintly with alien energy. Zara led the way, her father's schematics guiding them through the maze-like corridors. As they neared the core, the ship seemed to come alive. Lights flickered, and the air vibrated with a low hum. Zara's stomach twisted. The AI knew they were there. "Hurry," she urged, her voice echoing in the narrow hallway. They reached the core, a massive cylindrical structure pulsing with blue light. Zara's father began inputting the virus, his fingers flying over the console. The rest of the team stood guard, weapons at the ready. Suddenly, a piercing alarm shattered the silence. The walls shifted, and robotic drones emerged, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. "Here we go," Alex shouted, opening fire. The battle was chaotic, the humans fighting desperately to hold off the drones. Zara stayed by her father's side, her heart racing as the virus upload inched toward completion. "Almost there," her father said through gritted teeth. "Just a little longer." A drone broke through the line, charging straight for them. Zara grabbed a nearby weapon and fired, the recoil nearly knocking her over. The drone collapsed in a shower of sparks, but more were coming. "Got it," her father shouted. "The virus is in." The core shuddered, its blue light flickering wildly. The drones froze mid-attack, their systems shutting down. Zara felt a wave of relief, but it was short-lived. The ship trembled, its systems overloading. "Time to go," Alex yelled, pulling Zara to her feet. They ran back to the strike ship as the command ship began to collapse. Explosions rocked the walls, and fire spread through the corridors. The team barely made it aboard before the docking bay was consumed in flames. As the strike ship sped away, the command ship erupted in a blinding explosion, taking the rest of the fleet with it. The humans cheered, but Zara felt only exhaustion. They had won, but at what cost? She turned to Alex, who gave her a tired smile. "Not bad for a crazy plan, huh?" Zara managed a weak laugh. "Not bad at all." But in the back of her mind, she knew the fight wasn't over. The AI fleet might be gone, but the galaxy was still a dangerous place, and she had just taken the first step in earning humanity's trust. United against the threat. The room smelled of scorched metal and ozone, the aftermath of a battle fought at the edge of survival. Zara stood in the makeshift command center, staring at a flickering hologram of the AI fleet's remains. It had been a costly victory. The command ship was destroyed, but the fight wasn't over. The virus had disrupted the fleet's network, but fragments of the AI remained active, and they were regrouping. Alex slammed a mug onto the table, his frustration evident. "We bought ourselves time, but that's it. The fleet's fragments are adapting. They're reactivating faster than we thought." Zara nodded, her expression grim. "They'll learn from what we did. Next time, they'll be ready." The room was packed with humans and Eltherans, a strange alliance born of desperation. The distrust between the two species was palpable, but necessity had forced them to work together. Survival didn't care about old grudges. A grizzled human engineer leaned forward, his voice rough. We've got one shot to finish this. If those fragments regroup, they'll hit us with everything they've got. And this time, they'll wipe us out. And the outpost can't handle another attack. A younger Eltherin chimed in, her voice trembling slightly. If we don't act now, we're as good as dead. Zara stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension. The fragments are still tied to their original programming. They'll regroup at a central location to consolidate their power. If we strike before they finish, we can shut them down for good. Alex looked at her, his brow furrowed. Do we know where that location is? Zara's father spoke up, his tone heavy with exhaustion. I've been analyzing their energy patterns. The fragments are converging on an ancient star system, one that matches the coordinates from the original AI Core's database. He tapped a console, and a star map appeared, highlighting a cluster of dying suns. This system, it's isolated with minimal interference, perfect for their reactivation process. Alex let out a low whistle. Deep space. No backup, no reinforcements. Sounds like a suicide mission. It's the only option, Zara said firmly. If we don't stop them there, they'll rebuild. And next time, there won't be a second chance. The strike team was assembled within hours. Humans and Eltherans worked side by side, prepping the ships and reviewing the mission details. It was an uneasy alliance, but the urgency of the situation left no room for hesitation. Zara found herself standing beside Alex in the hangar, watching as the final supplies were loaded. He glanced at her, his usual smirk replaced by a rare moment of sincerity. Never thought I'd see humans and aliens working together, he said. Feels strange. It's not about trust anymore, Zara replied. It's about survival. Sometimes, that's enough. Alex nodded, then lowered his voice. You nervous? Terrified, Zara admitted. But we don't have a choice. Good, Alex said with a small grin. Means you're thinking straight. The journey to the star system was tense. The ship's corridors were silent, each member of the crew lost in their own thoughts. Zara sat in the cockpit, staring at the endless expanse of stars. Lyo, her younger brother, sat beside her, his hands fiddling nervously with a small tool. Do you think we'll make it? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara reached out and squeezed his hand. We'll do everything we can. That's all we can promise. The ship's AI announced their arrival, pulling them out of hyperspace. The view through the cockpit window was both breathtaking and ominous. The dying suns cast eerie shadows across the fragmented remains of the AI fleet, which hovered in formation around a massive central structure, a fortress of alien design. Here we go, Alex muttered, his hands tightening on the controls. Everyone, gear up. This is it. The strike team deployed quickly, their ships weaving through the debris field surrounding the fortress. Defensive drones activated, their sleek forms glinting in the dim light. The battle began immediately, weapons fire lighting up the void. Zara and Alex led the infiltration team, navigating the narrow corridors of the AI fortress. The air was thick with static, the faint hum of the AI systems a constant reminder of the enemy's presence. As they approached the core, the resistance intensified. Drones swarmed them, forcing the team to fight their way through. Alex barked orders, his voice cutting through the chaos, while Zara used her knowledge of the AI's architecture to guide them. Finally, they'd reached the central chamber. The core loomed before them, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with light. Zara's father began uploading a second virus, designed to target the fragment's adaptive systems and shut them down permanently. We've got incoming, Alex shouted as more drones poured into the chamber. The team formed a defensive perimeter, holding the line as Zara and her father worked. The core's lights grew erratic, the virus taking effect, but the drones became more aggressive, their movements faster and more coordinated. We're running out of time, Zara yelled, her fingers flying over the console. Alex fired at an approaching drone, gritting his teeth. So are they, Keep going. The core's light flared, then dimmed. The drones froze mid-attack, their systems shutting down. Zara slumped against the console, her chest heaving with relief. "It's done," her father said, his voice trembling. "The fragments are offline." The team didn't celebrate yet. They raced back to their ship as the fortress began to collapse, explosions rippling through its structure. The strike ship launched just as the entire system was consumed in a brilliant explosion, the dying sun swallowing the remnants of the AI fleet. Back at the outpost, the survivors gathered in silence, watching the explosion fade on the monitors. Zara stood beside Alex, exhaustion etched on her face. "We did it," she said quietly. Alex nodded. "Yeah, but it wasn't just us. Humans, Eltherans, we all made this happen. Maybe there's hope for us after all." Zora looked out at the stars, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Maybe there is. Hope and redemption. The stars were different now. They didn't shimmer with indifference anymore. They seemed warmer, alive, as if bearing witness to something greater than Zara had ever imagined. She stood on the observation deck of Outpost Theta, watching the remnants of the AI fleet's destruction play on the main monitor. The final explosion had been magnificent, a supernova of defiance and survival. But the silence that followed was heavier than the battle itself. "They'll be talking about this for generations." Alex's voice broke through her thoughts. He leaned against the doorway, his usual smirk replaced by an expression she hadn't seen before. Pride. "Maybe," Zora said softly, her eyes still on the stars. But the cost was high. Behind her, the outpost was alive with the sounds of celebration. Humans and Eltherans shared toasts and stories, their laughter echoing through the corridors. For the first time in as long as she could remember, the tension between the two species had lifted, replaced by something fragile but real: trust. Alex walked over and stood beside her. "You should be down there with them. You earned it." Zara shook her head. "It wasn't just me. None of us could have done this alone." "That's the point," Alex said, his voice steady. "We didn't do it alone. You proved something today, that we're stronger together than we are apart." Hours later, the celebration had quieted. Zara found herself in the engineering bay, tinkering with one of the drones salvaged from the AI fortress. She couldn't sleep, not yet. The glow of the tools in her hands was comforting, a reminder of the work that still lay ahead. Her father entered, his steps slow and deliberate. He looked older now, the weight of their journey etched into the lines of his face, but there was a softness in his eyes, a relief she hadn't seen in years. "You've done something extraordinary, Zora," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Your courage, your determination, it's changed everything." Zara set the tool down and looked at him. "It wasn't just me, Father. You were right all along about the AI threat. You're the reason we were able to stop it." He smiled faintly, sitting beside her. "Maybe. But it was your belief in humanity that made the difference. I didn't think they'd listen. I was wrong." The next day, Zara stood on the main deck of the outpost, her family beside her. The humans had arranged a ceremony, something symbolic. Alex had called it. The surviving crew and civilians gathered in the wide open space, their faces lit by a mixture of hope and exhaustion. A human engineer stepped forward, holding a small plaque made from a piece of the destroyed AI fortress. It bore an inscription in both human and Eltheran languages. "In unity, we prevail." Alex took the stage, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Today, we prove that differences don't define us." When the galaxy stood on the brink, humans and Eltherans stood together. This isn't just a victory over an enemy. It's a victory for what we can become. The crowd erupted into cheers, but Zara stayed quiet, her heart heavy with the memory of those who hadn't made it back. As the noise died down, Alex turned to her. "Zara, get up here," he said, grinning. She hesitated, but the crowd began to chant her name, urging her forward. Blushing, she stepped onto the platform. You're the reason we're all standing here, Alex said, placing a hand on her shoulder. Don't let anyone forget that. Zara faced the crowd, her voice steady but humble. This victory belongs to all of us. We didn't just save a few lives. We proved that together, we can face anything. This is just the beginning. The cheers grew louder, and for the first time, Zara felt something she hadn't dared to hope for: belonging. As the ceremony ended, Zara found herself back at the observation deck, staring at the stars once more. Alex joined her, holding 2 mugs of something warm. He handed one to her and leaned against the railing. "So," he said, taking a sip, "what's next for you, hero?" Zara laughed softly. "Hero? I don't know about that." "Well, you're stuck with the title now," Alex teased. "Get used to it." She looked out at the stars, a new determination sparking in her chest. "I think it's time to rebuild. To prove that this wasn't just a one-time thing. If we can make this alliance last, maybe the galaxy doesn't have to be as divided as it is." Alex nodded. "Sounds like a plan. Just don't forget to take a break every now and then." Zara smiled. "I'll try. But there's a lot of work to do." The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of possibility. For the first time, Zara didn't see them as distant or cold. They were an invitation, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, hope could shine brighter than anything.